put these on so that you know it's actually me and not some foreign substitute. Sunglasses check, piano check, dog eating food in the background check. Looks like we got everything we need. Let's get started. So I'm sitting here with my trusty Lester piano, which I've owned for about 26 years. This particular piano was built in, I think, 1957 or 58, sometime in the 50s if my memory serves. So it was basically an antique when I bought it, but I really didn't get it because of its antiquity. I got it because, well, I needed a piano, and this is the one I could afford at the time. Now, if you know anything about Lester pianos, the Lester Piano Company was a major player, no pun intended, in the American piano industry during what became known as the golden age of piano building. The company started in something like 1888, and the earlier models especially had a reputation of being very good quality instruments. At its height, the Lester Grand Piano was the preferred choice for auditoriums, concert halls, conservatories, and schools, including the music school at Syracuse University, where I got to record on some of those. But Lester also made these uprights, and they were so popular and affordable that during the last quarter of the 19th century up until the early 1930s, these pianos became increasingly commonplace in American homes. In fact, some people actually speculate that it was this popularity that saved Lester from closing during the Great Depression, which is what happened to the majority of other American piano manufacturers. Anyway, Lester finally closed its doors in 1960, so this particular model was one of the last ones they made. It turned out to be a good deal for me. I bought it in Dayton, Ohio, and moved to 3 different places in Los Angeles before dragging it to New Mexico, where it's been here in my living room for the past 21 years or so. And yeah, it's a little banged up. You can tell it's moved around quite a bit. But more importantly, over the years, I've written a ton of stuff on it. And I actually used this very piano to record some of my album tracks in the early 90s. So it's lasted a while and it served me well. But alas, Lester's days are numbered. Its keyboard is getting sluggish, not all notes play at the intended volume anymore, and it's been increasingly hard to keep in tune. Case in point, I had this tuned not too long ago, and the technician had to mute several of the wires that just wouldn't cooperate, and the rest of those that could be tuned didn't stay tuned for very long. Lovely. I've actually looked into restoring the piano, but it would actually cost more than it's worth, even when you add in the sentimental value. So I guess it's time to retire it and replace it with something else. And on top of that, my wife thinks that Lester is now an eyesore that just doesn't go with the room's decor anymore. So I guess it's going to have to go away eventually anyway. But before it goes away, and because I've had such a rich history with this little piano, I thought I'd do something a little different and give Lester a proper farewell by playing some of the songs that were either written or recorded on him, or where arrangements were developed on him, or where he was somehow leveraged into my music. And I'm envisioning this will include a lot of stuff that I normally wouldn't perform, so it should be kind of fun. We'll see how it goes. So with that, you're going to get a mini piano concert from me, from the 2 of us actually. And I consider this a win-win, because not only will Lester get his last hurrah and proper recognition for his musical contributions, but also, if the concert absolutely stinks, I can always blame it on an out-of-tune piano. Works for me. So, okay, so here's how I think this is going to work. This could potentially be a long concert, depending on what I decide is appropriate for these Lester sessions. So I'm going to divide up the performance to a bunch of separate videos so you can tune into whichever songs you think are the most interesting. Yeah, I've been talking for a while now, so I'm going to go ahead and break here. If you want to hear some actual music, Please join me on part 2 of the series. Enjoy.